Hey everybody, Ian here. So first of all, happy Valentine's Day. I realized after I sat down and got myself all ready, I had like a Valentine's Day shirt that I was going to wear today. It just has hearts all over it. And I forgot to wear it until I had started the first draft, and I was like, oh shit. First draft. I started this video several minutes ago, and I was like, oh, I was gonna wear that shirt, and then I sat here, and there's like 2 minutes of footage that I'm not posting, of me just deliberating, kind of out loud and in my head, like maybe I'll go over there. No, I don't think I'll go. I don't want to. Oh, but I set the stuff up. But I should, and I'm not. But so anyway, happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to Sunday. First of all, welcome to day 14 of the romcom venture. The movie I am going to do today there's a story behind it. And so before I get to that story, just don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. But so the movie I watched for today and I'm now reviewing, it was My Best Friend's Wedding from 1997, starring Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz. And I was originally going to do, back in the beginning of the month when I was writing out all the movies I was going to do, I was like, oh, I should do a Julia Roberts 3-pack, because she's kind of the queen of rom-coms in my mind. Also, so is I think Drew Barrymore is like the princess of rom-coms. I thought about doing 3 of her movies, but after last week when I did that, I did like Love Actually, Valentine's Day, and New Year's Eve, all in for one day. And I was like, oh, I can't do 3 movies again. That's a lot. I got kind of burned out from that. And I was like, okay, I was going to do My Best Friend's Wedding, Notting Hill, and then something else. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to do Pretty Woman because I've seen that a couple times. And then today I watched My Best Friend's Wedding and was on my way to watching Notting Hill, and I just couldn't find it anywhere. I went on probably 10 or 15 different links, and it wasn't working on any sites. And I couldn't find it on like Hulu or HBO Max, and so I'm just not doing Notting Hill. I'm only doing My Best Friend's Wedding today. But, so, anyway, My Best Friend's Wedding from 1997. Like I said, it's starring Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz, who is, oh my gosh, completely adorable in this movie. It also has Dermot Mulroney. I only know him from he had kind of a guest arc on Friends back in like season 9, I think. It was after Rachel gave birth and she went back to work, and he had been the guy that had taken over her job for her while she was on leave. And I always liked his character. I always thought he was funny. He's very like dry. But so this is the only other thing I've seen him in. When I saw him in this, I was like, oh, that's that guy whose character name I can never remember. He reminds me of a person I know in real life named Cameron. And then so I always want to call his character Cameron, but that's not true. But in this movie, he plays a guy named, what's his name? Michael O'Neill. And it also, one of these supporting roles is played by Rupert Everett, who was very funny in this movie. He was Julia Roberts' like gay best friend. But so the basic plot of this movie is that Julia Roberts finds out that her best friend, played by Dermot Mulroney, the guy who had guest starred in Friends, she finds out that he's getting married, and she realizes she needs to like stop the wedding because she's in love with him. At which point, lots of hijinks ensue. My overall feeling on this, I liked it. It was good. It felt very, I don't even know how to explain this, but it felt very 90s to me. There's these 90s rom-coms I've been watching have just had a very similar vibe to them all. They all just kind of have like a lightness and like a levity to them, and just a same and like brightness, and I don't quite know what it is, but it's just when I'm watching and I'm like, yeah, this feels like it's from the 90s. I'm not quite sure why they have that vibe. I don't know if it's the camera work or the whatever lens they're using, or maybe a particular way of shooting, maybe it's the writing, maybe it's everything. I don't know, but there's a distinctly 90s quality about movies I'm noticing. So I should look more into that. As for the writing, I'll go into my individual elements, pillars of this rating I'll give. The writing was very predictable right away, and just kind of simple, and not entirely one-dimensional, but there were places when it was very one-dimensional, and they would have characters announce that, like, oh, I'm not a romantic, I don't believe in love, I've never believed in love, and just very explicitly telling the audience everything we know about, everything we need to know about the character, and you're not supposed to do that. There's also a point in the beginning, I wrote this down, but at one point, Julia Roberts is talking about how she had a deal with this best friend of hers. They made a deal that was like, okay, when we're both 28 and still if we're both 28 and still single, we'll marry each other. And that's a common thing. I've heard of that. But I was like, bitch, 28 is like not old. I thought backups were for like when you're like 40 or 50. 28 is very young. One thing I liked about the writing is that it wasn't a story of her realizing over the course of it, like, an hour and a half, that she is actually in love with his best friend and didn't know it. She, like, as soon as she finds out they're getting married, she's kind of, I guess they let her know kind of in the last minute. There are weird things about the writing, kind of plot holes, but they let her know, like, 4 days before the wedding, which she's apparently invited to, but they only told her 4 days in advance. That's kind of stuff. I mean, But a thing I liked is that as soon as that happens, she's like, okay, I have 4 days to break up this wedding. She didn't spend the first half or like 2/3 of the movie in blissful ignorance and then realize, suddenly, oh my gosh, I'm in love with him. Oh, I didn't even know. But yeah, it was, the writing was left some to be desired. The acting was good, though. I like Julia Roberts. She's a good actor, and I think she's a respected actor. She did a good job on this. Also, Rupert Everett, the gay best friend, he was really, really funny. For a little while, for reasons that I'm not going to go into, Julia Roberts lies and says that this gay best friend of hers is her fiance. And he is hilarious as a straight man. He's like very, very clearly gay. Cameron Diaz was good in this. I like her, and she's cute. She's very sunny. And Dermot Mulroney. I said Dermot Mulroney. I switched the things around. I'm glad his name isn't Dermot. But Dermot Mulroney, he was good in this. I liked him better in Friends. But he was cute in this, too. He had black hair in this, and he had gray hair in Friends, and so all through this, I was like, oh my god, he looks so young. I think it was only like 3 or 4 years difference, but they, hair and makeup. The directing in this, I liked the directing. It was not quite as noticeably fun as like Sex and the City yesterday, but it was good, and thought had gone into this, and they had lots of funny framing and lots of amusing things where they're doing ones, multiple times they'll be having an important conversation up front and something amusing happening way far in the background. It's not like directly behind them, and that's something they'll do. They do that in lots of movies, but lots of the movies that I've been watching for this month haven't been doing that. And so when they do stuff like that, even if it's common, when they do a good thing, I'm like, oh, good job on that. And this was a funnily, humorously, shot movie. It was just funny. It was light and had levity to it. As for the music, and sorry for the directing. There were a couple of those telling shots when they would make a point of showing how far apart Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz are from each other in the elevator. It was kind of the place where the camera was. It wasn't just like right behind one of them, showing one of them on the other side. It was kind of in between them, with both of them all the way on one edge of the frame, and there's a very, very large empty elevator between them, and that was just like, oh, that added to the awkwardness and the feeling of discomfort watching that scene. The music was they included a song. It's called "The Way You Look Tonight," and I like that song. It's a nice song. But the rest of the music was kind of eh. And then they had this really weird scene, like really random and like inexplicable scene where everyone in the restaurant just started singing, but it wasn't like a musical where it's normal that everyone's singing. This was like an abnormal thing that happened in the restaurant, that they all started singing the song like I Say a Little Prayer for You. And it was actually because Julia Roberts is the fake gay boyfriend, the gay fake boyfriend. Um, start singing to her, and then just everyone starts singing this song, and it was just weird. It was just really weird. It reminded me of the that musical, just random musical sequence in like Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they all just start singing Twist and Shout by the Beatles. It was like, what? What's happening? Um, and the vibe overall, I was saying this kind of when I was talking about my just general thoughts, but the vibe, it was good. It was cute. It was fun. But like not necessarily, but, and like I was saying, all these 90s romantic comedies have had a very similar feeling to them. And I guess I'm not sure how many of the ones I've watched have been from the 90s, but the 2000s ones have felt different. And I don't know if I've even watched any 80s ones, but these 90s ones are very, they're different from 80s movies I've seen, and they're different from 2000s movies I've seen. And I need to, now that I've noticed this, I need to start paying attention to this and see if I can figure out what it is. But while watching this, I noticed that a lot of 90s movies have a similar feel. My favorite scene in the movie was, there's actually a car chase in it. Dermot Mulroney is running after Cameron Diaz, and Julia Roberts runs after him, and Cameron Diaz gets in a car and drives away, and then so he gets a car and drives away, and then so Julia Roberts gets in a truck and drives away. That was fun, and it kind of woke me up. I wasn't like falling asleep, but it was like, oh, there's some action now. You know, they've been getting ready for a wedding, and now there's a car chase. I wish they had made that more of an action sequence, you know, with like the cars bumping into each other and maybe like a car flipping and stuff. I felt like they could have made more money doing that. They could have attracted, you know, a boy audience. They would somehow need to make it so that they don't get, you know, not murdered, but like killed, destroyed in this car chase right before the wedding. But that could have been fun. My little ratings breakdown. How am I doing? Okay. My little ratings breakdown. I gave the writing a 1.2 out of 2. Like I was saying, it was one-dimensional and flat, and they kind of skip over stuff that should be explained more. And if you want to skip over stuff and just have the audience go with it, I feel like you should make a joke about how like, and this is just what we're doing now, so you all got to go with it. And you know, they didn't do anything like that. They just kind of, it's like, oh, she's your best friend, but she never knew you're getting married, but you want her there, and but you know, it's in 4 days, but there's still been time to find all of these, you know, the setting and all the tables and the food and everything. It's like, what do you want this to be? The acting, I gave it a 1.6 out of 2. Like I said, Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz, they had good chemistry together. Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney had good chemistry together. Julia Roberts and Rupert Everett had good chemistry together. Julia Roberts is just a good actor. I gave the directing a 1.6 out of 2. Like I was saying, there was thought that went into this, and I appreciated that. And I gave the music a 1.2 out of 2. That's the same as I gave the writing. I liked the song, The Way You Look Tonight. I actually only learned that from the show Friends, but I you know, I learned it like 6 or 7 years ago at this point, and so I just like that song. It's nice. It's pretty. But the rest of the music was... and then the vibe of the movie, I gave it a 1.5 out of 2. The directing and the acting helped with that. I think had it been, you know, directed in a more, you know, standard way, or if the acting had been not as good, this might have gotten like a 1.1 or a 1.2 out of 5 for the vibe. but the fact that Julia Roberts made it fun, as did that guy Rupert Everett. But had it not been as fun as it was, and funny, it would have scored lower on the vibe. But so anyway, the total combination of that, the 1.2 plus 1.6 plus 1.6 plus 1.2 plus 1.5 should be 7.1. I'll make sure if that's right. 8, 16, 21. Yes, that's 7.1. And yeah, I think that's appropriate. And yeah, like I said, if those things had been lesser, the vibe would have been lesser, and if the vibe had been lesser, this would have gotten like a 6.7 or 6.8, which was actually kind of what I was first figuring for this movie. But I was adding all the stuff up. I was like, yeah, this seems fine. I wouldn't give it below. I might have dipped to 1.4, but I didn't. But so anyway, yeah, 7.1 out of 10 feels appropriate for this movie. I liked it. It was cute. It was sweet. Bittersweet ending. It was nice. It was good, and I feel like I've been in a with some of the movies for a little bit, for a few days. It felt like the floor had kind of fallen out from under the movies, like after Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. Even though I liked Love Actually, which I saw after those, I was like, oh my god, are these sucking now? But I feel like I've had a stretch of like decent movies. Sex and the City and Love, Simon and 13 Going on 30. That was actually, looking back, that's really where things picked up after a few days of kind of I didn't like Jerry Maguire that much. I've been liking that less and less as I look back. I forgot I had even watched Jerry Maguire. That movie had very little staying power with me, and I don't think I would change my rating retrospectively, but it's making me. I was already unlikely to watch that movie again, Jerry Maguire. And now I'm increasingly less likely. But so anyway, I hope you guys all have a lovely rest of your Valentine's Day. It's only like 1:15 while I'm filming this. I like doing this stuff in the early afternoon. I feel bad when I post at like 11:30 my post for the day. It's like submitting the assignment at like 11:59. It's on time, but it's anyway, I hope you guys all have a lovely rest of your day, lovely rest of your weekend, lovely rest of your Valentine's Day. And I will see you back here tomorrow on February 15th. Sorry I couldn't do a double review, but it's whatever. I might do another one of those next week if I'm able to find both movies. I already know what they would be if I'm able to, but I won't. I don't want to make any promises I can't keep. But so. Goodbye. Thank you for watching this.